Hi everyone. Welcome on Sprouts. Welcome to the Sprouts LinkedIn Live. I'm Avi. I'm the co-founder here at Sprouts.ai. We are building an AI-powered go-to-market intelligence platform, and today we are going to talk about decoding customer-led growth GTM models for B2B SaaS companies. And to do so, we have a fantastic speaker, Brandon. Brandon is co-founder of The Forge, a community for emerging marketing leaders and ambitious VPs who want to accelerate their careers. With a deep background in B2B marketing, demand generation, product marketing, and account-based marketing, Brandon has worked with some of the fast-growing SaaS companies, including Chili Piper, CrossCheck, and Demandbase. Uh, that's a pretty solid lineup, Brandon. His passion lies at the intersection of technology and psychology, understanding customer behavior to drive scalable customer-led growth models is something are his key strengths. So welcome, Brandon. Super excited to host you and looking forward to learning how does this, like customer-led growth motion works.
Yeah, no, thanks for having me. And yeah, this is something that I think about all the time. And I think it's something that I think more and more people are starting to learn the importance of really customer-led growth and customer-led strategies in general. So yeah, definitely excited to dive into it and hopefully offer people some practical and tactical advice that they can start using today.
Absolutely. Brendan, like directly deep diving into the questions. Uh, this is a very interesting topic, right? Like customer-led go-to-market, right? Like how did you started, or what inspired you to start this, right? Or what inspired you to uh, make sure that I'm going to pick this up as a topic and make it as a huge success. Can you give us some real-time examples and can you walk us through your journey? How did you ended up in building, co-found Forge and also custom-led go-to-market models?
Yeah, totally. So it's something that I've always thought about even before customer-led growth, customer-led anything was really a term. And for me, as a marketer, and I actually started my career out in sales, so I was on the sales side for just a little bit as an SDR. This is way before they called it SDR, but I was an SDR, and then I carried a bag as an AE for about 2 years before making the move over to the growth and the marketing side. But it's just something I've always thought about. What really is the best thing for the customer is usually going to be the best thing for you, the business. So it's really stepping into the shoes of your customer and really trying to figure out what is it that they need, what is it that they want, what is it that they're experiencing. And once you really can understand that, then you can best serve your customers. So I've always taken that approach, whether that was when I was in sales or as a marketing leader these days. And I think it's becoming more and more important because, and we can get into this too, but because the buyers have more power than ever before. Buyers have more information than ever before, and more of the conversations and decisions that are happening outside the walls of your gardens as a vendor. So we really do need to take that customer first approach. I like to call it customer first, but yeah, customer led, same idea, right? It's really figuring out how do people want to buy, and then how do we make that easier for them. So,
Got it. Got it. And Brendan, you have pointed out a very important piece, which is customers are more informed today, like never before. So if I'm on the seller side and if I have to do some research on the customers, right, what are the key things? Because see, at the end of the day, right, like customer is very informed and so is the seller, right? So what are the key things which you recommend that sellers should do a study on when they are talking to customers so that they can really power their go-to-market motion better or maneuver it better?
yeah, it's talking to your customers constantly. And really another thing for me is always questioning the assumptions that you have about your customers. And you should always be like it. A lot of people say, yeah, you got to talk to customers, but I see few people actually doing it regularly. They'll do, a listening tour when they first join a company, and they might jump on a QBR or two, but you're still not talking to enough customers, Or the other challenge that I see is you're just talking to the same customers all the time, and it's the same friendlies that you have, where you got to be careful because they might not be necessarily representative of your entire customer base. I see this all the time is the CEO has their favorite 3, 4 customers that they always talk to, which is great, and they'll give you some good candid feedback. But if that's not an actual great representation of your customers, because they might be those early adopters and they were there from the beginning and you've built that relationship, but now you have hundreds or even thousands of customers, and the market's evolved, buyers evolve, and things change within the business itself. So if you're not always constantly questioning the assumptions that you have about your customers and necessarily the customers that you're talking to most, then
Mm-hmm.
you could be underserving the vast majority of your customers. So that's why I always caution marketers and marketing leaders when they come into a business, don't just talk to those customers that your CEO wants to introduce you to right away because it's the closest friends. I want to actually talk to some of the other customers that are not having the best time. Or this is actually one of the most important things that I did when I joined Chili Piper was talk to customers who didn't buy.
Mm-hmm.
Now, for me, that was I had a little bit of an advantage because I have a relationship with a lot of the people that Chili Pepper was selling to, a lot of
Mm-hmm.
marketers and a lot of RevOps people. But I went to them and I said, "What? Tell me why you didn't buy. Tell me why you went with one of these other vendors. Tell me why you went with the status quo."
Yep.
And had really great candid conversations with them that uncovered a lot of things that our happy customers didn't want to tell us. Because another challenge with Chili Piper is it's one of those brands that everyone loves, and it's a brand that people want to be liked by. So they're not going to tell you the things that are wrong. They're not going to want to upset you. Whereas me, I need to know those things. So who am I going to go to? I'm going to go to some trusted colleague that I have, or get an intro to someone again who didn't buy, because that's going to be actually more insightful for us to penetrate different markets and different segments and different personas.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's something that I think is underutilized in the process.
Yeah, yeah, very, very interesting point of view. I think this is something everyone should do. Like, talk to the customers who have not bought your solution,
Yeah.
because they are going to give you some really good nuggets which you can go back and really think of how you can build your product, or like even position yourself. So yeah, very, very interesting point of view. Brandon, typically whenever we talk about customer growth, there is one element which constantly comes up as customer churn,
Mm.
right? And uh, and you have been there, done that multiple times. Can you share some frameworks to reduce customer churn? Price sensitivity is something which is like top of mind as key reasons. Can you share few best practices, or some really good tactics uh, to like retain customers without discounting, right? Because
Yes,
the
yes.
moment the moment we talk about price sensitivity, the first thing which comes in everyone's mind is, which is like default, is, hey, let's discount them.
Let's just
Like,
go. Exactly.
yeah, so what are few tactics or few strategies you would like to share with us today to retain the customers without discounting?
Yeah, yeah. Okay, great question. So, when I think about this, I think there's some foundational things that we need in place. There's like, and I know a lot of companies do this too, but I think there's probably room for a little bit more rigor and documentation around it. But it's customer health scoring and building that customer health score, and this should include things like product usage and product usage over time,
Mhm.
engagement in specific pieces of the product. I even really want to take a look at support interactions and things like how quickly we can solve support cases, and the sentiment, and then of course overall account sentiment scores, and you can bundle that all into your overall account health score. And I know a lot of people these days too, they like to just do red, yellow, green. I think that's totally fine. But I think the more important thing is giving reps and giving the team visibility into what makes that account a red or a green. And yeah, when it is red and you're looking at specific contributors to that, whether that is, again, like, yeah, low product usage or low seat usage, you have 20 seats and only 5 are being used, things like that. That can actually give your customer support rep or CSM or account manager, whoever is really on the account and responsible for that, which I think is another point of debate these days. But it gives them more insight into, okay, how can I help this customer? And I mean, I go back to this all the time, but it's like, what is the value that they're getting from our product, and is that still the case? I'll tell one story about
Yep.
my time at Crosscheck. And Crosscheck is talent acquisition data and helping companies hire. It's called quality of hire, but hire much better candidates that end up lasting, that get promoted, that are value add to the culture. But when COVID hit and a lot of companies were on hiring freezes, we have all this data, but no one's hiring, and we're a talent acquisition platform. Okay, so what do we do? We're looking at some of those companies that are using our data in unique and interesting ways. So one of the things that we look at that contribute to this quality of hire score is their on-the-job performance, their promotability, the culture ad that they have. So the other thing that a lot of companies were going through was layoffs. And we found that there was really no rhyme or reason to these layoffs. It was just, these were the most recent people that we hired. We probably got to let them go. Well, we said, hey, there's actually a lot of data. We collect data about performance and culture ad and leadership and the skills, the competencies that you tell us make great employees. Why don't we actually lay the right people off? And let's use the data to figure out who are those people that are the right ones to lay off, and then how can we also create products around making layoffs a lot easier for you as the company. So again, it's going, okay, we have this data, this is the value that people came to us originally for.
Yep.
And now they're not hiring. Okay, how can we still use this valuable data? Because the value was in the data itself, and it was going back to our customers, questioning those assumptions that we had about them, and then figuring out, okay, what's a different way that you can actually use this and find value in the product today. So
Awesome. What a interesting way to pivot based on the external environment, I would say. Yeah, pretty interesting. Uh, Brandon, right? Like as today's topic is like customer-led growth, and personally, I firmly believe like customers are really good salespeople, right? Like, and usually what happens is in the conventional marketing and sales approaches, we we face a lot of challenges, right? In terms of hey, getting the customers and getting that right messaging and conveying the right value prop to them. Uh, how does customer advocacy can help overcome that? And if I'm somebody who is just starting off and I want to build a customer advocacy programs, like how I should think about it, right? Like uh, how I should go about it, how I should think about it. So like there are two parts to the question. Number one is how sales and marketing uh, challenges can overcome using customer advocacy. And if I want to build an advocacy program, how I should go about it.
yeah, okay, cool. So yeah, what are those challenges that sales and marketing teams face? I'll go back to what I mentioned earlier. The two biggest ones is like it's declining trust in vendors, right?
Okay.
And the challenge is, look, marketers can and do put anything on the website, right? They can say anything they want. And
Yep.
these days, all vendors of the same category really sound the same. So how do you really figure out which is the best one, or who's making the most substantiated claims? And here is where I think customer advocacy, your customer advocacy efforts, and more importantly, your customer advocates can really come into play, because yeah, again, there's a lot of distrust in sales and marketing pitches these days. and we rely on our peers and third-party validation more than ever for making these decisions. So, customer referrals and peer recommendations really help overcome that pretty quickly, and really highlighting authentic customer stories, because that carries a lot more weight than any sort of brand-driven campaign or brand narrative would for these companies. And then things like social proof and testimonials. And really, this is one of the things that that I'm helping, that one of the companies I'm working with called Noble is helping solve. And it's connecting buyers with your happy customers that they already know.
Oh, got it.
Yeah,
Okay.
and it's on things like, could be your website, right?
Mhm.
So the most common use that we see of Noble is everyone has a logo banner that's
Mhm.
saying these are all the companies that use my company.
Hmm. Got it.
Right? And it's a form of social proof. But we go one step further. We take that and we say, okay, here are the people that you know at these
Yep.
companies that you can actually talk to. And then we make it really easy. We give them, one, a link straight to their LinkedIn. So if you want to go LinkedIn message them, great. But two, if you actually want to email them, you
Mhm.
can click the email icon. It pops up in a window, and it has some pre-populated text that you can edit if you want. But a lot of people just use that text, and it's basically asking for their recommendation for and their experience for that product. So we're making it really easy. You can use it in outbound email too. We have integrations with like Apollo and Outreach that really make this scalable. We have partnerships with companies like G2 and Trust Radius, where they're on a G2 review page, they're looking at that vendor's page. They want to actually take a look at the vendors, the happy customers of yours that they know. So it's just making this process a lot easier, because we
Yep.
know that this is what happens, right? This
Yes.
is what people do. The last time I bought a B2B software, a category that I have never bought personally before, what do? I go
Yep.
to my network. I go to the trusted people um, that have experience with this before. So we're just making that a lot easier, because again, it's the way that people buy. And then you as a vendor, you have more control over that process too. Uh,
Hmm.
and we can choose to show certain customers. So you can say, oh, this customer, going back to a health score that we were talking about earlier, this customer's health score is red. You know what? Let's not show those customers, or let's not show people at that customer account in our recommendations. And there's some other really cool things that you can do too. So Demand Base is one of our customers,
Mhm.
and they use it on industry specific pages. So for example, they have an industry page that's just for financial services. And we show on that page, here are all the other financial service customers,
Hmm.
that happy customers that you might know on that page. And you can do it by industry, by vertical, by title, however you want to cut that. So there's a lot of different ways to do it. But yeah, that's one of the things that one of the companies I'm a fractional marketing leader for is yeah, again, it's called Noble. That's noble.com.
Got it. Got it. Very, very interesting concept, right? Like connecting buyers to current users and giving them a referral. Very, very interesting. And Brandon, right? Like if I'm somebody who is starting off my go to market motion, I have acquired, let's say, a 50 or 100 odd customers. How I should think about uh, uh, like building this customer led growth engine, right?
Yeah.
Like what are like core components, what are like stepping stone, right? Hey, this is like step one, step two, step three. Is there a playbook which you have in mind? And happy to learn about it, right? Like would love to get some insights onto that.
Yeah, totally. Okay, so the first real step is setting up your foundation and really defining what does customer-led growth mean to you and your organization, right? And really structuring your team and really incentivizing them around really being a customer-led growth company. And of course, we talked about it before, but a part of building that foundation is the customer health score and metrics, and you need the tools to properly capture that. You need documentation. You need to give your team visibility into the score and how you actually got that score. Then there's actual advocacy triggers that you build on top of that. So it's defining those key moments when a customer is most likely to be an advocate. And also there are different type of advocates too. There's a few different types. There's evangelists who
Okay.
are the most likely to shout you out on LinkedIn, give you product love. They're pretty vocal. There's
Yep.
champions who are more internal advocates. They're the ones who are going to go to bat for you. They're the ones who are going to go to your CFO, get budget approval, go to the other stakeholders, get their buy-in, etc., which are very important as well. Then there are, I would call, like product experts. These are more usually your technical buyers who have
Mhm.
really deep understanding and education of the tech side of things, and those are really important people too, to get you onboarded and get your team actually using the product. And then
Mhm.
there are just um, it's more like general connectors, right?
Mhm.
These are people who like to make introductions. They have a good network,
Yep.
and these are a great source of referrals. So another component that you might want to think about is actually building a referral program, and there's referral technology out there to make driving referrals and tracking referrals and making sure your referrals get paid, making that part really easy. So once you have this foundation, now, all right, how do I actually start to identify the advocates and then actually start to activate those advocates?
Yeah, that
So,
was my next question, right? Like how and when we should really start thinking of activating these programs.
yeah, exactly. So I think things things like okay, once you once you have your customer health scores, what happens when now that account gets onboarded, they see the first win, and then now they're green. Great. Okay, what happens? Or those triggers that happen. Okay, they're yellow. We fixed their problem. They're happy advocate. Now they're green. Right? It's setting up those triggers to notify your reps and your team at the right time to then, okay, now start to go out and make those asks, whether that is for introductions or to shout you out or leave a review, be a referral for someone on a call, stuff
Got
like
it.
that. You can also put in place NPS and CSAT scores, and that's I think pretty standard. Again, a lot of technology out there to do these things pretty easily, um, and then there's rewarding those people for for doing these certain things. So it could be something like advocacy programs that where you're actually sending using one of the sending platforms like Sendoso to actually send some swag or
I
send them a gift card or send them a nice bottle of wine or whatever it is. But
yeah.
you want to really reinforce that behavior and make it really easy for your reps to do that, which is why I do like platforms like Sendoso. And I've been on teams before where our main use of Sendoso was actually more on the customer advocacy side.
Mm.
And yeah, and the thing there too, I always caution people like don't always use wine, don't always use alcohol. Like people love
Yeah.
alcohol, but then there are people like me who actually don't drink.
Okay.
And I mean, I get bonus points with my wife by just giving her all the wine that I get, which is great. But to really send me a great experience, send me a non-alcoholic version of you
Right.
know some spirits or whatever that is. That'll actually really get me to be like, wow, this person actually knows me. This person cares about me. So I always caution people, don't always just automatically send wine. And yeah, the more personal that you can get with these, the better. I know it's hard to do, and it's hard, especially hard to do at scale.
Mm.
But things like Sendoso Smart Send. I don't work at Sendoso. They're not one of my companies. I just love the team over there. I love the
Got
software.
it.
But yeah, things like their Smart Send. They
Yeah.
look at their social profiles and some signals that are publicly available to say, I think Brandon would really like this, and
Mm.
then it makes it easy for you to send a little bit more personalized gifts. But yeah, that's another thing I think about a lot too, is just the reward and recognition that they get from doing these advocacy motions that you want. And then the last thing that I really look at all the time is just like, how do I measure this and how do I optimize?
Yep.
Right? Like, are my advocates staying around? Are accounts that my advocates are at, do they renew? Do they expand? Are they
Hmm.
helping me drive new pipeline and new business? And then you can even look at things like, attach rate, advocacy attach rate, or even influence close rate. Just what percentage of deals were influenced or actually generated from your customer advocacy programs. And then again, yeah, your customer expansion and retention metrics. And I'm looking at, again, attach rate.
Yep.
Are my advocates at these accounts actually staying longer, buying more, renewing, etc.?
Got it. Got it. Very, very interesting. Brandon, a follow on to that, in your experience, what is a good percentage of attach rates, right? Uh, Broadly speaking, I'm pretty sure, right? The data might be skewed from this side to this side of spectrum, but uh, what what is that average attach rate you have seen for any B2B, especially on the SaaS side of business?
Yeah, well, I'm always a little hesitant with giving benchmarks,
Mhm.
especially with things that are a lot less standard, and
Okay.
it's especially companies that are getting started, because I don't want to say. I mean, I've seen attach rates as high as 50%, and if
Wow.
I say that, and people are like, "Oh, we're at 2%," it's really like discouraging.
Yeah.
So what
Yes.
I always recommend is get your program up and running, use the
Yep.
first few weeks to establish your benchmarks, and then
Hmm.
make sure you're trending in the right direction over time.
That's a fair
And
point.
and then I'll go back to something I mentioned earlier, but it's really building your team around the motion and incentivizing them in the right way. And the companies that I've seen successful at this, customer-led growth is an initiative from the executive team, right? If it's just something that your customer advocacy manager comes to the VP of marketing with, and it's like, hey, we really should be doing this, and the VP of marketing is like, yeah, cool, go for it, just run with it, and it really doesn't ladder up to the top 3 business initiatives for your organization, it's not going to go anywhere. You know what I mean? So
Yep.
it really does have to be from the top down and organization wide, because if my customer advocacy manager sees an opportunity here and we need to borrow resources from the support team or from the engineering team to fix this bug or whatever, they got different initiatives and they're like, no, why do I care about this? My top 3 goals are XYZ. Whereas if it's from the top, it's like, okay, that should actually be affecting one of the top things that I care about in my OKRs or MBOs or whatever you want. So of course I'm going to jump over here and help you out with this. I'm going to take some extra time out of my day or pause what I'm doing because this thing is important to me as well. So yeah, again, I really look at benchmarking against myself and then
Hmm.
making sure over time I'm trending in the right directions and I'm incentivizing the team in the right way to make sure that um, again we're going in the right direction.
Got it. Got it. No, that makes sense. Completely can't agree more, Brandon. I know we are like about time, but one of the question which personally I wanted to ask was following your LinkedIn post, which was talking about using AI in marketing. And AI
Mm,
is the word, right?
yeah, yeah.
Where you talked about from identifying customer pain to automating customer onboarding. How do you see AI fitting into customer-led strategy, right? Like, is there high fitment or is there a lot of work needs to be done? And where should companies should exercise caution, right? Because also we keep on hearing, right? Like using AI, especially with the customer data, might be, there might be some challenges and everything. So how do you think about all of these things?
Yeah, so a lot of the technologies that you're already using are trying to integrate AI into their product already. And I think you should definitely be taking advantage of that and playing around with it and testing it. And there are like I know what was it, like predictive analytics was huge maybe 7-8 years ago. Well, I think predictive analytics now with AI on top of it is actually going to be superpowered and is actually going to make a comeback. And I think you
Yep.
can now start to make a lot more data informed decisions on what actually does make a good customer, what actually should constitute a green account score. And you can be looking at your models and testing your models a lot more easily and quickly rather than having just an idea. I think a green customer would do these three things. Well, now we can actually look at the data and make it, it's just easier for people to be a lot more data proficient and data literate.
Mhm.
And then taking that account score and then automatically just always looking for those signals and updating it in real time. I think AI is great at things like that, the mundane, repetitive tasks that we have to do at scale is going to be where I think AI is going to be best used. And of course, obviously, you got to be careful with customer data, especially
Right.
PII. And
Yes.
you never know how customer or companies are integrating and using AI. So I do think there are going to be now roles where people dig into the AI models, and it's going to be part of the evaluation of vendors these days, which is all great. Just do your homework and make sure you're not crossing any lines there. But where I think I would give the caution is don't try to automate the relationship. That's something that I still think is just not, it's not gonna help, right? Like again, automate the signals to find the signal in the noise, and then the reps can be like, okay, let me use some actual human reasoning and intelligence to figure out, like, what should I, like, is this the correct signal, and then what do I need to do about it? So it makes the building of the relationships and nurturing of the relationships easy, but you shouldn't try to replace it with AI. And if you are replacing it with AI in some cases, like support, like
Mhm.
chat, like any of those things, don't pretend that it's a human and
Mhm.
try to pass AI off as interacting with someone as a human, because that I don't think we're there yet, and that erodes and breaks trust immediately. As soon as the person realizes, yeah, this is AI, your trust is gone. So if you have to do that with a certain segment of your accounts, usually it's the lower paying tier, then be upfront about it,
Yep.
and then still
Yep.
offer at the end, if you need to talk to a human, talk to a human,
Right, right. And I think one big takeaway here is you can't automate relationships with AI, right? Like that
Exactly.
is where you need human intervention. I think that one-to-one connect and that advocacy programs you have to build to like generate like a lot of good relationships. Thank you so much for taking our time and talking to us. Personally, I have learned a lot, and a lot of things which you have told me, I'm going to use it in my day-to-day work because I am very close to customers at Sprouts as well. So these kind of strategies is definitely going to help me personally, and I'm pretty sure people who have joined are walking away with a lot of good insights and learnings, and this will be a baseline for them to build the customer-led go-to-market function, right? So thank you so much for taking our time and talking to us. Really appreciate it, Brandon.
Yeah, thank you for taking the time, Avi, and thanks for having me. Yeah, I could geek out about this stuff all day, so happy to chat with anyone further. If they have any other questions, feel free to reach out on LinkedIn. But yeah, thanks again for having me. I really enjoyed it. The time went by too quickly.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. Cool. Thanks, Brandon.
All right,
Have
thank
a
you.
good